Hello and welcome. Today we talk about sunscreen and why it is more harmful than you might think. I present you 3 videos that really open my eyes about it. The first one really opened my eyes not only about how harmful it is for yourself, but also for the environment, especially the ocean. So watch all of the videos which I will play to you now. And after the 3 videos I will talk to you and give you my opinion about that. The second video is really about everything. Just watch it, or you can skip to the end if you only want to know my opinion about sunscreen, but enjoy those 3 videos, and for timestamps down below.
Tourism is Hawaii's #1 industry, and we are very grateful to have visitors come from all over the world to enjoy our beaches and the rest of our natural resources. However, the marine environments around an island are very fragile, and so the more visitors that we have, the more of an impact they have on all of our beaches.
We started noticing declines in coral reefs around 1980, 1985, which is about the same time that personal care products like sunscreen lotion were used prominently by tourists going to these beaches and visiting these coral reefs. What we're doing is we're looking at oxybenzone, a common UV chemical found in many sunscreen lotions and aerosol sprays. This is pure oxybenzone, and it's about 20 drops. Oxybenzone can cause an adverse effect in coral at 62 parts per trillion. That is equivalent to 1 drop of water in 6.5 Olympic-sized swimming pools. So you don't need a lot to cause a lot of damage.
So we're here at Waikiki Beach, and I'm about to take a water sample to test it for sunscreen chemicals. The last time I took water samples, there was really high concentrations, twice as much as what is known to be harmful to coral. Certain times of the day, you can actually see the sunscreen on the surface of the water. I could actually smell and taste the chemicals in the air.
Even worse than the sunscreen lotion is the aerosol product because it travels.
When it's windy and you spray someone, that spray goes all over the place and gets in other people's lungs. So it's just a matter of courtesy to other folks that if you're going to choose a sunscreen, it's better to choose one that you rub on than a spray.
You're also leaving a residue. The ocean waves come in, they wash the sand, and they take the residual aerosol spray out into the ocean as well.
The researchers that offered this revolutionary paper, they in the lab have seen that these compounds are lethal to coral larvae. It also sterilizes them, and it bleaches them at a lower temperature by 10 degrees. What that means is that if we lose a coral to bleaching, or if it's damaged by hot water just from climate change, it can't recover.
What is coral?
It's an animal, like a sponge animal.
Living plants in the water, in the ocean?
Kind of a hard animal that lives on rocks.
People think that they're rocks. They pick up a piece of coral on the ground and they think it's a rock, but no, it's like that was an animal.
Corals are animals. They actually have a basic immune system that is a lot like humans. They react when they're being stressed out. They're white, they're stressed. It's a lot like us when we're sick. We're pale and we're not as healthy, and that's what's happening to the coral. I've worked the last nearly decade on coral health and disease. I never thought in my lifetime I would see reefs just completely wiped out by bleaching. The level of alarm that I have now is higher than I thought it would ever be. When we take away the reefs, we take away the habitat. that's housing thousands of organisms. We're talking about an ecosystem that takes up a small percentage of the globe, yet it's rivaling rainforests in the amount of oxygen it's producing and carbon it's fixing. I mean, these are literally some of the most productive ecosystems on the planet. We lose those reefs, we lose a large amount of income from tourism, from biomedical products, from coastal protection, and really importantly to communities, from food.
You know, you think about it, I'm putting a chemical on my body and it's washing off into the ocean just so that I can have fun. And I thought there was something wrong with not caring about a pollutant that's going into my playground. I learned that non-nano zinc oxide is the safest active ingredient to be used in a sunscreen.
What we put on our skin, it's going to wash off and it flows into the ocean, whether you're in the middle of the US and the mainland or you're here living right next to the reef.
Sewage is the biggest source of sunscreen chemical pollutants anywhere. 20 minutes after you put a sunscreen lotion on your skin, we can detect it in your urine. When you flush the toilet, all of that goes straight into sewage, out into a river, and then out into the sea. Those chemicals then accumulate in aquatic organisms such as fish, clams, oysters. It will contaminate coral reefs, seagrass beds, kelp forests, and what have you. Oxybenzone is a toxicant. It can cause harm to humans, it can cause harm to mammals, it causes harm to fish at particular concentrations. Oxybenzone is an endocrine disruptor in that it is like estrogen. It can cause male fish to become feminized, meaning it will produce female gonads, even though it's supposedly a male. Mother dolphins are exposed all the time to oxybenzone because it's there polluting the marine environment. And when the mother dolphins breastfeed, oxybenzone that it's contaminating the mother passes on to the baby. Oxybenzone will also accumulate in your fat tissues and can transfer from the mother to the infant, which who knows what effect it will have on the development of that child.
We don't even know the long-term effects some of these chemicals might have on the human body. One can make a hypothesis that if a chemical is hurting coral larvae in our coral, that chemical could have a negative impact if it's on a human body or someone's skin for X amount of time. We really just don't know.
It's mostly found in sunscreen lotions, but it can also be found in lip balms. Some shampoos will have it, moisturizers, even foundations. It would be in the label of the active ingredients of what that sun protection factor is.
Avobenzone, octocylcrylene, and oxybenzone.
Right now, corals are having problems internationally, and one that we can deal with through legislation is chemicals that are in sunscreens. I've introduced a bill to ban the sale of oxybenzone in the state of Hawaii. And if passed, Hawaii will become the first state in the nation to do so.
We have these global stressors that in the foreseeable future, they're not going away. Temperature is rising. We have increased CO2, ocean acidification. And it's overwhelming. But there's the local stressors. And if we can minimize those, we give the corals a far greater capacity to respond, adapt, and survive. So what's the easiest thing you control? Don't put sunscreens that have harmful chemicals on them. You can just put on a long sleeve rash guard. You can use lotions that don't have that same impact. There's little decisions like that that if we all do, collectively is going to help this environment.
Super simple, easy to do, and keep it clean, keep the ocean clean. That's the point.
Aloha, beautiful friends. As I live in one of the sunniest spots in the world, I am asked frequently, and I worry frequently, about how to protect my skin from the potentially damaging UVA and UVB rays of the sun. Sun protection, in my opinion, is a holistic and multi-pronged endeavor, and I cover a lot of dietary and lifestyle details about sun protection in this video up here, but in this video I would like to get into specific product and ingredient recommendations, so please stay tuned for precise information on which brands and which products to buy that will protect your health, the health of your family, and the health of our oceans. I say this in the hope that it's obvious. An effective way to avoid harmful sun exposure is to not expose yourself to the sun. I'm very mindful about when I'm outside unprotected. If at all possible, trips to the beach, hiking, snorkeling, and other outdoor activities are planned for hours of the day when the sun isn't as powerful as it could be, which means that I avoid being out in the sun between the hours of 9 or 10 a.m. and 4 or 5 p.m. depending on the time of year. Obviously, I do want to make sure that I'm getting enough vitamin D, which I do talk about in my other video, and obviously there are times when I can't avoid the sun like this. At those times, I am fairly vigilant about keeping my fair skin covered. Hats, visors, sunglasses, sarongs, UV protective rash guards, beach towels, and umbrellas go a long way to keeping my skin unburned and undamaged. But I can't always be covered, so if I know that I'm going to be especially exposed for an especially long time, I use sunscreen. And this is where it gets tricky. So there's been some hype recently about the chemical oxybenzone, which is found in most sunscreens on the market. As a chemical UV filter, oxybenzone is effective at preventing sunburn, but it is also a potent hormone disruptor that mimics estrogen in the bodies of humans, marine mammals, and fish. Oxybenzone also has an effect on coral by messing with their reproduction and growth in various ways, as well as increasing coral sensitivity to temperature changes. As such, it is a prominent cause of coral death and bleaching worldwide. Oxybenzone is deadly to coral at concentrations equivalent to 1 drop diluted between 6 Olympic-size swimming pools. So remember that figure when you consider that 14,000 tons of sunscreen products enter our oceans at beaches every year. Anyone who has visited busy beaches in Hawaii, Florida, anywhere in the Caribbean, and many other warm places around the world have probably experienced the noxious amounts of sunscreen fumes present in the air and the oily film that develops on the surface of the water. Ironically, when I visit Waikiki, which is renowned for its beach, I refuse to swim in the ocean because it's disgusting and it's a health hazard. When oxybenzone is applied to the skin, it appears in your blood and urine minutes afterward, which means that our oceans and waterways are not only exposed to oxybenzone from use at the beach, but also when we go home and take a shower, or when we pee oxybenzone-laced urine into the toilet and flush it into our sewers. As if that weren't bad enough, another issue with most conventional sunscreens is that they contain nanoized particles, or nanoparticles, meaning that they contain elements that have been broken down into such tiny particles that they can be very quickly absorbed into the skin. Some studies suggest that these particles can be absorbed through the skin and into your bloodstream, where they could potentially cause organ damage. But these findings have been disputed by other studies. Another and bigger but, I'm not sure who funded those disproving studies, which triggers what, in this situation, I would consider a healthy dose of paranoia. There's also the issue that And I'm still trying to wrap my head around how tragically the public has been duped by this, but smaller particles of zinc oxide and titanium dioxide result in higher SPFs, aka sun protection factor. But SPF only relates to UVB protection because UVB rays are the ones that cause sunburn. But SPF does not dictate UVA protection, which are the UVA rays that penetrate deeper into your skin, causing more significant damage and aging, including the damage that leads to melanoma. And apparently SPF and UVA protection are inversely correlated, meaning that the higher the SPF, the lower your UVA protection, which means that you have people slathering themselves and their kids in SPF 100 sunscreen, thinking that they could essentially walk into a microwave oven and be protected. These people are staying out in the midday sun for hours and hours because they believe that they are protected. But in reality, those are the people who are becoming most vulnerable to skin damage, including the skin damage that leads to melanoma. And this, of course, is all in addition to the fact that when high SPF sunscreens are tested in independent labs to confirm their SPF, oftentimes an SPF 100 product can come back with a rating of anywhere between SPF 30 and SPF 80. So you just don't know. And here is a real kick in the nuts. You know when you go to the beach nowadays and you can hardly breathe because everyone is spraying themselves with that god-awful aerosol sunscreen? Yeah, I'm familiar with it too. The nanoized titanium and zinc that they're putting into these sprayable sunscreens is then inhaled, and when it gets into your lungs, it causes lung damage. These products are being sprayed into the faces of toddlers. I don't know how sunscreen manufacturers sleep at night. I really don't. So in addition to the oxybenzone and the nanoparticle fiasco, there are many other chemical ingredients added to your standard sunscreens. For the sake of video length, I'm not going to get too deep into it, but these can be really nasty chemicals. They're potent allergens whose nasty effects seem to become even nastier when they're exposed to sunlight. And all of this is why I was so happy when I went to my local health food store a few weeks ago and I loaded up on all-natural, non-toxic, reef-safe sunscreen, and I found so many options available. I ended up deciding to buy a product that was proudly oxybenzone-free, and I purchased it and used it for several weeks until I bumped into two wonderful ladies who made this short film all about toxic sunscreens and their effect on our coral reef, and I had them look at my sunscreen. And they pointed out that several other chemical UV filtration ingredients in my all-natural reef-safe sunscreen, the octinoxate, the octisalate, the homosalate, and the octocrylene, are almost equally as toxic to my body as well as to marine life as oxybenzone is. Let's listen to this quote taken from the Earthwatch Group article on these and similar UV filtration chemicals. Quote unquote, "The Food and Drug Administration has not reviewed evidence of potent hazards of sunscreen filters. Instead, it grandfathered in ingredients in the late 1970s when it began to consider sunscreen safety. The Danish EPA recently reviewed the safety of active ingredients in sunscreen and concluded that most ingredients lacked information to ensure their safety. 16 of the 19 ingredients studied had no information about their potential to cause cancer. And while the published studies suggest that several chemical filters interact with human sex or thyroid hormones, none of the ingredients had sufficient information to determine the potential risks to humans from hormone disruption. I, for one, am not willing to be a first-generation guinea pig. This stuff is genuinely toxic. I am not being hyperbolic when I say that. and I will say it again, we are putting this stuff on our children. We are putting this stuff on the bodies of pregnant women, and we don't know what it does to our hormonal systems. But luckily, it's not all doom and gloom. The two ladies that I met had several sunscreens available that are safe, and I will get to those in just a moment. But first, I want to say a big F you to companies like Nature's Gate and Kiss My Face, the manufacturers I trusted enough to slather their greenwashed products onto my body and the bodies of my kids. These companies who purposefully took advantage of my momentary ignorance and sold me this untested, toxic crap, it's not appreciated. Let it go. So, and I say this with deep grief over my lost innocence, since apparently no one can be trusted without intensive vetting. Let me break this down for you. These are the basic guidelines. No chemical UV filters. That includes oxybenzone, octinoxate, octisalate, homosalate, octocrylene. Avobenzone is the only chemical filter that is suspected to be safe-ish, but it's highly unstable when exposed to sunlight, and its breakdown products are known to trigger skin allergies. So nice one on that, FDA. You don't let any slip through the cracks, do ya? So check your sunscreen, check your moisturizer, check your lip balm, check your makeup. This crap finds its way into all kinds of products. Also, never use the aerosol spray sunscreens. They are horrible for the environment in just about every way possible. And I, for one, am sick and tired of breathing in sunscreen while I'm trying to chill at the beach. And if you'll remember, that is not just me being an irritable butthead. That's me wanting to avoid lung damage. The only truly safe sunscreens are those that contain non-nano titanium dioxide and zinc oxide. I'm going to give you two brands that I and the creators of the film Reefs at Risk, which you guys should take the time to watch and share, trust. These brands, I am fairly confident, are committed to doing the right thing for the sake of doing the right thing. And they provide vegan sunscreen, which is something that I discovered in the researching for this video is kind of rare. The first brand I love is Stream to Sea. This company is kind of awesome all around. I love their sunscreen, I love their shampoos, their conditioners, their body washes, and all of their products are biodegradable and safe to use near the ocean. Another great brand is Garden Goddess. In addition to their great mineral-based sunscreens, they also have some fantastically healing skincare products for those of us who have perhaps been a bit careless with our sun exposure in the past. So these mineral sunscreens can be a little bit more inconvenient than the widely available chemical death pastes that most people slather themselves with, simply because you have to rub them in longer. You know, because the cocktail of hormonal carnage isn't sinking directly into your bloodstream, which is an inconvenience I'm more than happy to endure for my health, the health of my developing stepdaughters, and the health of the ocean ecosystems I adore. You might also be saying, Lily, WTF, why are the SPF so low? Well, I'm glad that you asked, and some of my viewers who have been paying close attention probably already know why. That's because, as we've covered, high SPF only means that they prevent sunburn, not necessarily sun damage. But if you really insist on using a high SPF product, I do have a solution for you. I suggest you take a Sharpie, and you take it and you write on top of the SPF higher numbers. So here, there you go. This went from SPF 20 to SPF 120. Because, as independent lab testing has indicated, that's essentially what copper whatever and Hawaiian Troppa does too. Also, since I have you here, we can cover some other natural alternatives. Yes, I have heard that raspberry seed oil, which provides a natural SPF of 28, I believe, though I am not sure if a UVA protective rating has been established, and to be perfectly honest, I do not trust the blogosphere to accurately educate me on that figure. I have personally never used raspberry seed oil, so I cannot give you first-hand advice. But if anyone has who's watching this video, please comment down below and let us know whether or not it's effective for beaching, hiking, swimming, or preventing what I can only refer to as Robert Redford face. I don't want to look like this. And I will address this in one sentence. Coconut oil is not sun protective. Semicolon, at all, comma, never has been, period. I've also seen some recipes for your own sunscreen whereby you purchase zinc oxide or titanium dioxide from the interwebs and you mix it with whatever carrier you please. In the recipe that I saw, it called for coconut oil. And then you use that mixture as sunscreen. I have never used this method, and to be perfectly honest, I'm definitely not going to, since the information that I saw indicates that mineral sunscreens that don't coat those minerals with inert chemicals to reduce photoactivity means that those minerals could turn into free radicals when they're exposed to the sun and cause skin damage. So, as a girl who is definitely a member of the Better Safe Than Sorry tribe, I'm just going to stick with the products that I know have been specifically formulated and tested and are known to be effective and safe. Those are the non-nanoized, mineral-based, chemical-free to the largest extent possible sunscreens that I just told you about and are linked down below.
What we're going to do is we're going to go to Dr. Group here in about 2 seconds, and we're going to talk about vitamin D and sunshine, because I was out on the lake a little bit ago, and I generally am a vampire for most of the year. But of course, I want to put on some organic sunscreen, right, so I don't get burned. But what people do is they spray the really, really terrible sunscreen, and they think they're keeping themselves safe, and they don't get any sun, and they get no vitamin D, and it's an insane thing that goes down. When they're giving themselves cancer with these chemicals, trying to prevent cancer from the sun, it's a really, really insane situation. But Dr. Group, you called me today. You wanted to come on and talk about this. What's on your mind? And thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's always good to be on. I mean, it's summertime right now, and I see parents slathering sunscreen on their kids, slathering sunscreen all over the place. The dermatologists are telling people that they need to apply sunscreen to the face, to the body 2 times a day. And what's happening is we're in an epidemic right now with vitamin D deficiency, and vitamin D deficiency is one of the root causes for the majority of diseases that are out there. But I've really had a lot of research requests lately into skin cancer and is sunscreen actually safe to use. You know, we've been telling people don't put on chemical sunscreen for a long period of time. The sun produces 2 different types of rays, the UVB rays and the UVA rays. And it's interesting if you trace it back, because you know how I like to do the research and try to figure out, is there really a conspiracy behind this sunscreen, or is there some plan? Well, there is. If you look back into the late 1960s and when sunscreen was first coming about, there really wasn't that many cases of skin cancer before the 1960s. And still to this day, if you look at the countries that are along the equator where the sun is the hottest and the rays are the strongest, they have practically 0 cases of skin cancer. So tracing it back as to how were sunscreens marketed, how were they developed, the American Dermatology Association teamed up with some pharmaceutical companies and individual manufacturers and was spending $1 billion a year in fear campaigns to try to convince people that the sun was bad. I mean, the sun is the source of all life. If it's not for the sun, nothing could survive. Yet we have a society right now that believes that the sun is bad. And
the sun is bad and air is bad. Everything is bad for you that is natural, right?
Yeah,
now,
everything is
obviously everything in moderation. You don't want to go out, you're going to get sunburn. It's terrible for you. Clearly, I've gotten sunburn, but there are people that are so afraid of the sun that they refuse to go out in the sun at all without like SPF 500 sunscreen on. I have people tell me that all the time. Well, don't go out into the sun. That's bad for you. You get skin cancer. What do you mean don't go out in the sun? How do you think we got this far as human, as a race? Do you think we just stayed in our huts forever and we never went outside one time? Clearly, the sun has so many different benefits, not even just the vitamin D, but the different rays that hit you and the way your body absorbs it and everything like that. People have been told, though, that it is evil. It's like the root of all evil. They've been told that over and over again.
Yeah, the strange thing is, though, if you look at the difference between the UVB and the UVA rays, the UVB are actually the rays that you need to produce vitamin D in your body, and that's from usually 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. in the afternoon. The UVA rays are the penetrating rays. Those penetrate past the epidermis. So the UVA rays both can be dangerous, don't get me wrong. The UVB, I say UVB for burning, you know, that because that will burn your skin fairly rapidly, and when your skin becomes burned, it is bad. But the UVB rays are also the essential rays that we need for vitamin D production. The UVA rays, though, are the dangerous rays that penetrate all the way through the epidermis of the skin. Those are the ones that penetrate through your windows, actually, and can cause skin damage, and those are the ones that are associated with the majority of cancers. Well, guess what? The sunscreens that they didn't want to produce sunscreens that would block both of those rays. All the sunscreens out there block the UVB rays, the ones that are necessary for vitamin D production. And they don't even block the UVA rays. The UVA rays are the ones that cause skin cancer.
Well, that's very helpful.
They knew that was going to take place because they wanted more dermatologist visits. And actually, since the introduction of sunscreen, by the way, dermatologist visits have gone up exponentially 10 times since the 70s. And since the introduction of sunscreen, there's been more cancer, more skin allergies, more skin reactions than ever before in the history of the world. So my advice to everybody out there, and what I really wanted to let people know today is, don't listen to this false information that's being spread out there. You need vitamin D.
So there you have it. Not much more to say because those videos said it beautifully. And you know, sunscreen is a thing. You don't really think about it. You just buy it. It's so normal. But you know, what is in that stuff? That's why veganism for me was the turning point that I questioned what is behind something. Because before that I didn't really question anything so much. I just bought what is normal, but then I saw what is behind factory farming and that I don't want to support it and what it does to my health. And then I started to question other things, like what do I put on my body? I have a rule where I basically put nothing on my body what I wouldn't eat on a regular basis. And sunscreen, hey, would I eat it? No. So what is in that stuff? And ingredients I cannot even pronounce. And then I found out, wow, these are really toxic for my body. Not only for my body, but also for my environment. And they're much smarter ways to protect yourself from the sun. First of all, don't be afraid of the sun. It is essential. Without the sun, we wouldn't be alive. We need it. We need vitamin D. We can supplement it, but the best source is exposing our skin to the sun. So don't be afraid and don't put something on your skin immediately because you block the vitamin D production. You want to expose your skin to the sun at least 10 minutes to get the vitamin D in, which is so important. Otherwise, you need to supplement it, but the sun is the best source and it's also for free. So take advantage of that. And then how I protect myself from too much sun and skin damage. First of all, have a healthy relationship. Listen to your body that when you go outside into the sun, your body tells you first, you know, you go into the sun and oh, it feels so good and you want to be in the sun forever. And after 15, 20 minutes or so, depending how strong the sun is, you feel warm, it gets hot. And your body tells you, hey, get out of the sun. But most people stay in the sun because they just want to get super tanned or they think more vitamin D is better, but you already have all your vitamin D in. Trust me, after, it depends how much skin you expose, but if you're only in a bathing suit, after 10-15 minutes you have all the vitamin D you need, depending where you live and how. But 15 to 20 minutes about that, and your body tells you go out, but as I said, many people just stay in because they also think like, oh, the sunscreen will protect me, but often, as you just learned in the video, it doesn't. So listen to your body, just go out of the sun, go into the shades, and if you don't have an option, because if you're exposed to the sun and there is no shade around you, if you're hiking somewhere, then just be prepared. First of all, then of course you can buy sunscreen, mineral sunscreen based off titanium and zinc, which I link you down below, much better for your skin, for your health and the environment. And then you don't even need it. You can also protect yourself just by wearing a hat, sunglasses and covering yourself. What I have when we go hiking, I have this thin blanket in my backpack. It doesn't weigh basically anything, it's super lightweight, and I can put something what is fragile in there to protect it, or have it at the bottom of my backpack so it protects what's in my backpack. And when we hike and I get too much sun, I just put it like this, and then my backpack on top. Yeah, it looks a bit ridiculous, but I don't care. Here in Austria there are no people anyway, and I don't care. So I care about my skin, and I put that on and it protects me from the sun. I would say it has a rating of 25 to 30, so it really protects you. And yeah, just be smart, don't spend too much time in the sun, go in the shades, go to the sun when it's afternoon, when the midday sun is over, the aggressive strong sun. You know, now it's super midday and I'm inside, and I will train now outside in the shades. And the afternoon we go for a hike, and then the sun is not so aggressive and I can spend hours in the sun. And yeah, use this, use a hat, use mineral based sunscreen. There's so many nice vegan sunscreens, go for them. Don't go for the chemical stuff, it's really toxic for yourself and the environment. And as the guy in the video said, other stuff like raspberry oil. I'm not sure about coconut oil. Some people claim it is, some people claim it's not a protection, a sun blocker. I don't know. Just smartly plan your day that you're not in the desert exposed to the sun 10 hours and completely burn yourself. No, you can avoid this easily by going into the sun in the afternoon on a cloudy day. But go in the sun every day if you can to get your vitamin D in, but you know, it's the dosage. So just have a healthy relationship with the sun, appreciate it, spend time in the sun, but not too much, and not when it really burns, then not too long. But listen to your body, you will feel it. Oh, now I should go out, now it feels great. Have this internal feeling and don't be afraid of the sun. The sun is so important for our hormones, for our vitamin D, for it's just the happiness hormone which makes you smile. Everyone loves the sun, so don't be afraid and just be careful which sunscreen you buy. Thanks for watching. Share this video with your friends who don't know what's up with sunscreen, and I see you in my next video. Peace out. Subscribe!